I walk a lonely road, the only one that I have ever known. Don't know where it goes, but it's home to me, and I walk alone. I walk this empty street on the boulevard of broken dreams, where the city sleeps, and I'm the only one, and I walk alone.
Remember our friend James. Don't be like James. Don't lose the league. Don't have to run a beer mile. Good luck this season, fellas. Welcome back to another year of Gentlemen's Club football. The year is 2024, and we are here to talk Gentlemen's Club football all day. All the time, and that will be the longest pause I will have of the season. I am just so excited to be here, so excited to be doing the show, so excited fantasy football started, but not excited about my team, but we will get to that momentarily, guys. You know how we start the show. We like to do a little talk. We like to do some stats. We like to talk about some things. Before we get into that, on a little bit of a heavier note, and I hope this member is okay with me talking about this because they've shared it with, I believe, everyone. Our friend Joe, our good friend Joe, the other content king, suffered a little bit of a health scare this year, some serious stuff. So as a tribute to Joe for getting through it and appearing to be on the other side, I'm going to light a candle on my show as he always does on his show. As we know, there have been a few health scares over the years with some of the fellas, some serious stuff. Kevin Carroll, Spencer Sklar with his knee. I think there was at least one other one that I might be forgetting, so I apologize. But with that, to Joe, I'm excited for a great season. Happy that everything appears to be okay, and I'm excited for him to run his marathon in November. Support has been given. I know Ian's going. I hope other people go as well. Unfortunately, I can't. But with that being said, am I going to treat Joe any differently this year as one of my rivals in this league? No, not a shot in hell. Especially after what he did to me this week. And continuing to get to a lighter note, we're going to talk the long 20. Guys, we're going to talk about the long 20. The man who introduced this a couple years ago, Eric Olson, was the high scorer on the week. Does that mean Eric wins the long 20? No, it does not. But Eric had Tyreek Hill, who has an 80-yard touchdown. Tyreek Hill, the single most long 20s won. I don't know what the total is, but I can tell you, Tyreek Hill has the most long 20s. Eric, expect $20 from none other than yours truly, as I was the low score on the week. Stat request. I had a stat request from the commissioner asking about what is the worst week one after winning a Super Bowl, or more, he was asking what is the what have the champions done in week one, more or less, because obviously I am now have that record locked up as the worst Super Bowl hangover of all time. I'm not looking into that. I'm just playing quite simply. Request denied. But I did do something on my own accord that I think is similar and probably more fun and more important to the rest of you guys. So I looked at the 8 week ones of the winners, not the year after, not when they have a whole different team, not when everything's changed. I looked at the year that they won. So last year I won in week one. So that was the stat. So here we go. Out of the 8 league winners, 6 out of the 8 have won in week one. 6 out of 8. That does not bode well for the 7 losers this week. That is a 75% chance. 75% of the winners did win their week one matchups. Let's talk about the 2 guys who didn't win their week one matchups. And we're going back to 2020. Ian Jones tied Johnny Sedano in week one en route to Ian's championship. That's an outlier. Throw it out of the population. That's the only tie the Gentlemen's Club has ever had. The other one, Mike Weston, when he won in 2018, Mike Weston put up 120 points. Eric Olson put up 205. It's only been like 3 200-point games. I could argue that's an outlier too, of Weston losing. Basically, guys, if you don't win week one, you're probably not winning this league. So yeah, that bodes really, really poorly for, me, Johnny, Rast, Christian, Lynch, Lamb, and Sklar, who are the 7 losers this week, guys. That's a doozy. Hate that. Let's get into the matchups. And you guys know where we always start. We start with none other than my matchup.
Dud. You moron. You drafted like shit. You manage like shit. Dud.
So that's the new dud sound. 51 points. 18 out of the quarterback. 4, 9, 4, 4, 3, 3, 1, 3. Those are my guys. Those are the Ukins, the Ukes. I thought I was going to call the guys the Ukes. Needless to say, I changed my team name. That's fucking horrible. This group should never see the light of day again together. I'm glad I made a trade. Honestly, after queuing up that sound in here, that my whole fucking demeanor just changed. But I'm trying to stay positive, guys. It's only week 1, right? I'm 0-1, and that's all it is. That's all it is. Am I gonna win the league now? Probably not. But rebranded the Tortugas. Derrick Henry, King Turtle himself. So fucking gassed up to get him. I was really, really hoping I could have drafted him, but I knew it wasn't really gonna work out. So really excited. As excited as one can be after putting up 51 points, guys, because clearly I fucked up at the draft. There's some bad luck that you can say into this, like, oh, Olave, they were up 47-10, or what they went for, he's like, he wasn't really, getting targets. Mark Andrews hasn't played regular, so doesn't give him 10 months. Ayuk only had a week of fucking all garbage. All those facts were known to me. Well, maybe not the Saints blowing up Panthers, and nonetheless, I still picked them anyway. So, little reshaped team. I haven't even talked about the Little Joeys. I really like the Little Joeys as a team name. Joe really fed into that. I think the Club Sundays chain was a big change. That was his brand for years. Speaking of brands, I think my brand is just, my team name is The, and then something. So I was the Clowns, I was the Steens, and now I'm going to be the Tortugas. Whatever the fuck that means. Joe, though. I think Joe has a pretty good team. I don't think they performed up to as they could have. The rookie for the Bengals, interesting flex in week 1. But Joe's 1-0, and Joe is now 7-2. 7-2 over me career. A regular season only. Joe actually reminded me that I swept him last season, playoffs included, but I do not include the playoffs in these all-time records. Let's go to the next matchup, because we've been talking about this one for a little too long for a 51-point fucking dud. Next one, Ian versus Johnny. Great Jones versus Paw's a goofy buggin'. Paw was goofy bugging on Thursday night with Saquon Barkley, 33 points. Little did you know that would be a third of your total, John. You got off to a hot start. Things were excited. Made me feel real fucking dumb not drafting Saquon. And then your team just kind of started to look like mine. 3, 1, 2, 4. Yeah. And then the other side, Ian Jones probably has the strongest team in the league. Lamar, Kamara, Etienne. If Godwin's having 22-point games, Ian has a very fucking strong team. Pickens looked good. Pickens, I feel like stats don't tell the story of how good that guy looked. I'm very excited about George Pickens this season. A.J. Brown, he had a 70-yard touchdown. Amazing. Kamara's still great. And Ian has Lamar. Great Jones brings down Paw's a goofy buggin'. Now that's a sentence that has probably been said by no one ever. Moving on to the next matchup. Charlie, the DC Darkness Retreat versus the Hard Money Maseratis. More like it, as he said himself, 68 points from John Rast.
Dud. You moron. You drafted like shit. You managed like shit. Dud.
That's going to get old. Anyway, let me shorten that up. But John Rast, a guy who I wasn't very high on out of the draft, and I don't know if many other people were. If he doesn't get 21 points out of his kicker, he's right with me. I mean, it's all bad. Rast was the recipient of my trade. We both tried to shake it up a little bit, and I texted Rast, I want to trade my bad players for your bad players, and I think that just opened the negotiations, and we got a deal done pretty quickly, like less than 10 texts, and that was cool. So hopefully he's happy, I'm happy, wish him the best of luck. Other side, 112 for Charlie, the team that was drafted mostly by Tom. Turned out really well. Puka's that's gonna suck. Missing Puka for at least 4 weeks. But I mean, 25 out of your kicker. This is the kicker battle. Garrett Wilson looked good, even though his stat line didn't, result. But that one drive, oh my gosh, it was electric. Ramondre getting 21 is definitely a welcome sight. And Charlie finishes 110, pretty good for a team he didn't really draft. I would say it looks pretty dang good. Next one, Mike versus Christian. I can't do the whole thing.
Dud. You moron. You drafted like...
All right, Christian, that's all you get. You had the best of the duds, so I won't play out the whole sound for you. 71 points, though, pretty fucking bad. 126 for Weston, pretty fucking good. Tokyo Knight rocks Yak United. Still undefeated all time versus them? It's not true. Thank you, NFL.com, for giving me shit information, guys. Just to go back to it, Ian is 6-2-1 against Johnny. Charlie and Rast are now 3-3. Charlie brought that one back, and Weston is 5-3 against Christian historically. So I don't know what the fuck NFL.com is trying to tell me, but Weston 5-3, 126. Christian, I mean, not having McCaffrey, you wouldn't have been in the dud category, so it probably is unfair to put you in there. A late scratch Monday night, and there's nothing really you can do at that point. Weston 126 though. Richardson good. The Robinsons are great B-Robs. Weston's got the B-Robs. Got solid receivers. And overall pretty good team again, Mike. The next one, the Latin Mooks. The Latin Mooks playing in the Latin Bowl. Ortiz 139. Absolute monster of a week, taking down Lynch 99 points. This is the 9th edition of the Latin Bowl, and Ortiz now has a 5-4 lead. Ortiz getting absolute production out of Cooper Kupp and Joe Mixon. He's got the Steen stack, the Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and they didn't even do that great, and he didn't even need it. Stephon Diggs was looking good. I mean, Kupp with Puka now hurt, it looks like the fucking pick of the draft at the end of the second round. Really good stuff from James. It's really different to see him have a fucking strong as shit team. So we will see how that goes for him. Lynch, I thought, I mean, Lynch had Rashee Rice looking good on that first game, and then it all just kind of... Mike Evans had a good week, though. But Burrow is a killer. If Burrow puts up a good week, Lynch is definitely looking at a more solid outcome, but nonetheless, he was not catching Ortiz. So Lynch is 15 in a row regular season games lost that we know of. Tough to see. Dell Pickles, Eric versus Lamb. Eric Olsen versus Kevin Lamb, the father figures, with a picture of Jim Jones on his team. And Kevin Lamb loves the Jones family. We all know that. Lisa Jones Locker, formerly known as. Eric, 143, the high man on the week. Jordan Love getting hurt in that game. I don't really know the extent of that. So Eric might be looking out for a quarterback, but he's got Tyreek Hill, who gave him a little scare in the morning, getting arrested, and then goes out and puts up 26 points. Ridiculous. Bears defense, ridiculous. Did they have all the points for the fucking Bears that day? Insanity. I mean, Kevin, Josh Allen, beast. Kevin just doesn't have an RB2, pretty clearly. Let me go to the full box, actually. Let's see who's his bench RB. Yeah, doesn't have one. So he really hopes Devin Atchan's not actually hurt or doesn't really get hurt, because I know he definitely had a little bit of something going on. So I don't know. Kevin's got a good-looking team, but it could fall apart in an instant. Last matchup of the week, guys. I'm sorry I'm taking so long. It's week 1. I got to get into stride. The Douchey Dutchman taking on the Young Esquires. Two well-branded team names. I just noticed this now, Spencer, and I don't think I like it. The T in the is a lowercase. Is that intentional? Because next to the Douchey Dutchman, it just looks fucking odd. But 117 to 98.98. Ugh, Spencer, 98.98 ain't nothing special, but let me tell you, it ain't a dud. Jalen Reed, 33 points was amazing. Waddle and Brees had a nice little game on Monday Night Football, and but wasn't enough to take down Tony. Tony's got a fun little Tony team. He's got some juice. He's got some Tony guys. And he's got the rookie quarterback, and Jaden Daniels put up 28 points. So with that, Tony secures 1-0 over Spencer. And with that, that's the matchups. Week 1's in the books. I hope to never remember it. But needless to say, I'll probably be reminded by Ian Jones in the group chat 97 million times about it. And, you move on. You move on. With that, y'all have a wonderful week. Best of luck week 2. Maybe there will be another trade. I heard there might be. And we'll send it over to Joe with the first week of Safe Space. Thank you.
Wow. This little show still happens? Thank you, Brian. Gentlemen, welcome back to season 6, I believe, of a little fantasy football segment that I like to film in my various apartments over the years called Safe Space. First episode of the year. We're a little behind. We've been busy. A lot of things have changed, but apparently I still wear the fucking same light blue handling to bed every single night. This is going to be a little weird episode because this is technically the post-draft episode. Best team, worst team, best pick, worst pick. But week 1 already happened, so just fucking bear with me. I don't know if you can fucking tune in for accurate takes, so hopefully it doesn't fucking matter. However, we're carrying over a new segment from last year, and we're starting out the show with our Dooley's notes. I have 5. 5. From the Thursday night game, my first note is Slants Boy. Rashid Rice. He's just the new slant boy in the NFL. He just fucking... And that, to be clear, that is not an insult. Like, he is great at what he does. He's prime Michael Thomas-esque. But he just fucking runs a slant and goes. That's it. Simple. Now, really note number 2. Midseason form. Face masks. I don't... maybe just me. There seemed to be a lot of face masks that had, like, a hexagon shape. And I noticed it all week. Like Kelsey had one. Like they're pointed like this. If anyone else notices, chime in the comments. Our daily note number 3. Our daily note number 3 reads Laura Ockman. Okmin. She's a sideline reporter. Don't know anything about her. Never knew anything about her before this week. Didn't even see this live, saw on Twitter. Her outfit this past weekend was absurd. Could be a nice lady, could be a great lady. Absurd outfit. Now, duly note number 4, my thoughts on the trade. John Rast, who scored 60-something points this week. Brian Marsh, who scored 50-something points this week. First trade of the season. Is the pack button in here somewhere? I actually have no idea where the pack button is. Derrick Henry is being sent to the Steens for... Why did Marsh change his team name from a championship team name to a pun that makes no sense to me? For Chris Olave and Ezekiel Elliott, he's still in the league. I think Marsh clearly won this trade, from my opinion. You look at John Rast's team pre-trade and you go, oh, he probably needs a running back because Henry's getting up there in age, still productive, and all he has besides that is the 2 Chargers running backs. Granted, Dobbins look good, but, need some depth. And instead he trades his only running back for Chris Olave, who he is a Narduli anti-guy. I went through the Olave experience last year. You probably think he's good. You probably think he's a great talent. There's something about him and Derek Carr that does not fucking work. The Saints scored 47 points this past weekend, and he had 2 targets for 11 yards. Great trade, Brian. Last note, duly note, the Salah face. Jets fans, I feel like every time something bad in the Jets game happens and they pan to Salah and he's just stoic chewing gum, I would be enraged. Enraged. Let's get to the segments. All right, segment 1, best pick of the draft, and we have a safe space first. No consensus best pick of the draft. Every single submission was unique. So let's just go through this. And I gotta say, the first submission has not fucking aged well after week 1. Joe Burrow. I believe Matt Lynch ended up picking him. Expecting a huge bounce back from Joey B this year. I had him as QB 2-3 in my preseason rankings. Thank God this is an anonymous program, and I do not have to reveal that Charlie submitted that. Pick 2, Steph Diggs from James Ortiz. Last pick in the 4th round. Solid value. I think he scored 2 touchdowns in week 1 for Ortiz. I would have loved for him to get more yards. I think he didn't have like 20, 30 yards, but if he gets in the end zone, he'll be sustainable. Debo, round 3 from Eric. I love Debo. Had him last year. You're going to have to worry about his fucking injuries all year, but round 3 is good value. Mostert. Raheem Mostert got a vote. Marsh taking Mostert in the 7th round is a strong value. Guy had 18 TDs last year. Could be the best running back on his team. That probably speaks more to Marsh's running backs drafted than Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert's also hurt right now. But hey, Dolphins' offense is prolific. So, Mostert stays healthy, he'll probably at least get end zone touches. He could or red zone touches, I should say. He could probably be a flex. I wouldn't want to rely on him for anything more than that. Breece Hall / Lamar got a shared vote. Shout out to those guys in the draft who went out and got their guys. So in this case, Spencer and Lamar. Love to see it. I also love to see this. You could say Weston did the same thing with Devontae Smith. You could say John Sedano did the same thing with Devontae Adams. You could say me when I got neighbors. I appreciate when guys go get their guys. Ortiz, Cooper Kupp. Mike Evans got a pick. He is a freak and will finish as a top 10 receiver. Mike Evans, I say this all the time, how like Derrick Henry is the best running back of our lifetime. Mike Evans I don't think he's the best receiver of our lifetime, but he is, I think, higher up on the list than any of us actually realize. Devin Singletary, he got a vote as your RB2 in round 6 as a steal. I don't know who submitted this, but if Saquon last year in the Giants couldn't average 4 yards per carry, in what planet do you think Devin Singletary is going to be productive? Speaking of Saquon, John Sedano never has figured out how safe space works. Responded today, so post week 1, and he voted Saquon, best pick of the draft. And John Sedano picked Saquon. I gotta say, Saquon looked awesome on Friday. And that made me feel just great inside. Jahmyr Gibbs, I have him. Him going RB7 in a PPR league is stupid. Yeah, I'm very happy with my Jahmyr Gibbs pick so far. I was high on him all off season. I tried to trade up in a draft earlier in the summer to get a better chance at him, but then he hurt his hamstring, so I decided to roll the dice, see if he fell to 14. Working out so far. Although Montgomery gets a lot of touches. Trey McBride and Christian Kirk both got votes with no context. Trey McBride, fine pick. Was it the best pick in the draft? No. Christian Kirk also. I was reading some tweets, and apparently he is the third string receiver now on Jacksonville. So maybe we should always film this after week 1. Travis Kelce got a vote. Great value in round 4 for a difference maker at tight end. I don't know, it kind of feels like Kels is... Side note, Ian and I saw Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift on Saturday night when we were walking home. I think it was on Ian's Instagram or something. So yeah, that's my commentary for that pick. CMC got a pick. This is just a Tony pick. So ballsy picking him in the first. Ha ha ha, fuck Tony. Ha ha. And then my pick for this was Rashee Rice, because I don't think he's going to get suspended. I think that pick will pay off for Matthew Lynch. Worst pick coming up. Do you think you had one of the worst picks in the draft following week 1? All right, so we do have a clear consensus here. It was Mike Williams, the Mike Evans, Mike Williams. Most idiotic pick, lucky to be allowed to switch him to Evans. I think we've kind of worked through that. So if you want to award that to Lynch, you award it to Lynch. We did have 3 other picks that all received 2 votes. Pick 1, Marvin Harrison Jr. I love the player, but think it's a little crazy to take him before Devontae and some other proven guys. That was submitted before week 1. The other one was Johnny, again, having no idea how safe space works and just saying, worst pick certainly looks like Marvin Harrison Jr. from Rast. But still, Marvin Harrison Jr. looked like fucking ass. I saw this stat of average speed of receivers, and typically receivers run like 18 to 20 miles per hour, and Marvin Harrison Jr.'s top speed this week 1 was like 16 miles per hour. And then Kyler was like, they asked him, do you want to get the ball more? And they were like, ask the OC. And then Marvin Harrison Jr. was like, yeah, I wish I played more in the preseason. Yikes. 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 Pick 2 that had 2 votes. Kenneth Walker. Eric picked him at the end of round 2. Worst value in draft in the second round. Mid offense and a ton of better talent available. I'm going to defend Eric here. I was next to Eric when he made this pick. He was picking at the end of the second round, and there's a huge running back run. And Kenneth Walker was essentially the last pretty good running back. Maybe you throw James Cook in that conversation. But essentially, I think he looked at it as an opportunity cost. If he took Kenneth Walker in the second, he could still get a good receiver in the third versus taking a receiver in the third and potentially not getting Kenneth Walker in, or taking a good receiver in the second and not getting Kenneth Walker in the third. He ended up getting Debo, so I think it worked out. I also really like Kenneth Walker going into the season. I know he had a down year last year, but the new coaching staff has been talking him up all off season, and he had a great week 1. So Eric, I defend you there. Chris Olave. Surprise, surprise. This was my pick. Someone else voted for it. I don't know how you pick Chris Olave, even if you like him, over someone like Cooper Kupp, Debo Samuel, Jalen Waddle, Brandon Ayuk, Mike Evans, Nico Collins. Horrible pick. And credit to you, Marsh, for just washing your hands of that sunk cost, because that was a horrible pick. All right, let's run through like 5 others that have 1 vote. TJ Hawkinson, most uninformed pick. Yeah, round 10 for a guy that might not play until like week 6. Drake London. This was another great call before week 1. Went in the end of round 2 and thinks every round 3 wide receiver outperforms him. Kirk Cousins looked fucking horrible. Not good for Drake London. Lamb taking 3 tight ends rather than solidifying his running backs and wide receivers was just a general comment. Did Lamb actually? I know he took 2 tight ends. I didn't realize he took 3. Wasn't his team name one year zero tight end strategy? DeAndre Swift, 85% of the guys that went after him in the 5th and 6th rounds are better. Christian, I think, took him. Didn't even need another running back. And Swift has also failed on his last 2 teams. Rashee Rice, Lynch voted this. Could be suspended at any time. Guiltiest man in the league. Maybe Lynch is reverse hexing himself. Calvin Ridley and Ramondre in the 5th and 6th by Charlie/Tom. Really gross. Ramondre looked really fucking good week 1. And Calvin Ridley, I don't really have Titans game takes. We're not really breaking Titans film down too much here at Safe Space Studios. Last pick was Breece Hall, and the comment was, has a Jets player ever disappointed in the past? Best team come up. Okay, so best team had 2 guys tie with 3 votes apiece, and I used my vote to break the tie, but let's lead up to that. Tony got 1 vote. The comment was, I like Eric and Tony's team, but I'll go Tony for funsies. I will say the league is a little bit more enjoyable when Tony's team is good. What his team name is? The Douchey Dutchman? You're relying on a little too many Washington Commanders and Minnesota Vikings for my taste, but nice week 1 win. Spencer Sklar. That is not a name you hear often after the best team category. Love Spencer's team. He got 1 vote. Hero RB and otherwise stacked team. Probably the best roster construction in the league. Let's go to Young Esquires. Did anyone else notice that Spencer uncapitalized the in the Young Esquires? Kind of weird. Kyler, solid. Zamir White, hate that running back too. Breece, great. Jalen Waddle, great. Drake London, you think he'll come around? Probably. Dalton Kincaid, he'll probably also come around. Jaden Reed, great. Probably be a little down until Love comes back, but that's a later problem. Nice team, Spencer. Tough running back too. He's got Bucky Irving and Jonathan Brooks on the bench, and maybe they'll turn into something. James Ortiz. He got 2 votes. Best receiving group and decent running backs. Prescott-Lamb combo has a ton of good receivers. I really like James's team. When I think of James's team, I think of two go-off guys, and that's Cooper Kupp and CeeDee Lamb. Those guys have unreal ceilings. I was huge into Cooper Kupp coming into the season. I thought about taking him at 15, actually. Those guys can both get you 30 a week, and then he's got guys that are just going to probably consistently get 10, 15, 20 points, and Mixon and James Conner and Dak Prescott and Steph Diggs. Very solid team, Ortiz. Need a tight end. Maybe he'll figure it out. Maybe not. All right, so two teams that, all right, so this was the team that got 3 votes that I didn't vote for. Matt Lynch. The comments are, did Lynch do it? Tight end is weak, but if Freiermuth can be decent, he has no weaknesses. The wide receiver room is deep. The running back room is best in the league, and his QB has top 5 potential. Lynch has 4 clear-cut number 1 guys in the RB and wide receiver position, and 2 of those guys are go-off guys. Lynch's team name is Phoenix Fire. I assume he did that because Phoenix rises from the ashes. Lynch, please confirm. Jonathan Taylor, solid. I'm a little bit nervous about Richardson just vulturing a lot of touchdowns. Kyron Williams, for all the fucking offseason flack, oh, blah, blah, blah. He's going to split carries with Corum, or oh, blah, blah, blah. He's returning punts. He's just going to be a fucking bell cow. Mike Evans, Rashee Rice, Keenan Allen, such a solid veteran group. Freiermuth, kind of a weakness. Burrow, Baker, you'll figure it out. Very solid team, Lynch. Good to see you back competitive. And the number 1 best team, I voted for this over Lynch. The great Jones, our commissioner, Ian Jones, who had a great week 1. Solid top to bottom and had some decent depth. Shout out Commish. You got his guy Lamar, running backs with juice. Good wide receiver group anchored by A.J. Brown. Lamar Jackson, Alvin Kamara, Travis Etienne, Chris Godwin, A.J. Brown, and Njoku Pickens. Njoku hurt, not a huge deal. Ian's got a very, 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 very solid team. Saying that, I thought it was crazy that he did not pick up Tank Bigsby today. Crazy. We'll see if that comes back to haunt him later in the season. Let's get to worst pick, or worst team. All right, last segment. This is always one of the longest videos of the year, so I hope you guys missed it. Worst team, and we have consensus. We'll build up to it. Ian, you gotta vote as you won best team, but you also gotta vote as worst team. Marsh, you gotta vote. The comment was clearly Marsh. And this came from John Sedano, who once again didn't really understand how this works. Christian Borelli got a vote. Feels like a lot of what ifs after CMC. Much of which from the receivers. Christian's team, he went running back receiver a lot. His team name is Yak United. One of my least favorite team names. Herbert and Caleb are his quarterback rooms. That looks weak. His 3 running backs are McCaffrey, who's obviously great when healthy. Didn't handcuff McCaffrey. James Cook, who I like a lot, just doesn't score touchdowns. DeAndre Swift, who is Mr. Mid. Receivers, JSN. Jordan Addison, who looked good, then got hurt. Xavier Worthy, who looked really good. Zay Flowers, who looked really good. Michael Pittman, who I was going to vote as the worst pick in the draft until I decided on Olave. So Christian has capital to make trades. But yeah, I actually agree with the point where after McCaffrey, like, who's his second best guy? But he has depth, so I'll make moves. Tony Marullo got a pick. The Jones-Jefferson stack is egregious. He has zero depth in the event that Lad McConkey, one of the best names in the world to say, Lad McConkey, doesn't realize his Hunter Renfrow ceiling. Yeah, I commented on Tony's team. The Commanders and Vikings are a lot, but if those teams end up being good, his team will end up being good. Charlie Carita, you got 2 votes, including mine. The only comment was Tom B. That was the comment. I will go through my thoughts. Garrett Wilson, I appreciate you getting your guy. I swear I'm not saying this as hindsight 2020, but I did not like Puka going into this year. Obviously, that's a little more unfortunate now that he's going to be out for a while. DC Darkness Retreat. You did upgrade your team name. I love Kelsey. Rashad White's okay. Honestly, you probably don't have the worst team. I try to think about, like, in the moment what I would have voted for. I just don't really love anyone on your team outside of Garrett Wilson. But we'll see if some of these guys actually pop off. Like Calvin Ridley, Ramondre, Rodgers, Kelsey, Rashad White, Ridley, Jerome Ford. I all just think of them as like, eh. But maybe they'll turn into something. Kevin Lamb, you got 2 votes. Achane is a wild card, and I could argue he picked no one of consequence after the 4th round. Cannot be starting P. Ryan in week 1. This is the most spot-on fucking comment of all the submissions. That was shocking to me that Kevin started Samaje P. Ryan week 1. He didn't even draft him. He had to pick him up. He has no RB2 at all. I gotta say, I was considering picking Achane at the turn, as I talked about a ton at the draft, and felt like a fucking asshole when he was doing fantastic this weekend. Horrible rest. Like, oh my god. This is like vintage Rast. This is like year 1 Rast. His receivers, Marvin Harrison Jr., who apparently can't run more than 16 miles per hour. Chris Olave, who I think I've shit on 6 different times in this program already. And DK Metcalf, who gave a quote today that said when Mike McDonald was hired, he said they're going to be a run-first team. And he rounds the starting lineup out with Evan Ingram, who didn't do shit this weekend. I'll say this, Rast will keep trying to trade his way out of this, so if he's not liking it, I'll keep moving things until he figures it out. But yeah, rough week 1 for Rast, but he didn't even have the worst week. Too late for a stat request, but I wonder if this was the first ever week where 2 people didn't break 70 in week 1. All right, fellas, let's get to dust off the rust, and hopefully we get a regular cadence with these videos and get rolling. Enjoy your weeks. Week 2 coming up. Peace.